Hello, welcome back to another episode of Crafts at the Clinton Public Library. Today we are going to make a small craft that fits in with our summer reading program of Imagine Your Story. We're going to be making a very small gnome. This gnome can be used as a sachet, or you could just set it as an ornamental. I could even see using it as a package decoration or Christmas ornament on your tree, depending on the stuffing you put in the bottom. Once this craft airs, we are going to have a very limited number of gnome craft kits available. If you call the library and request one, it is a first come first served basis. We will deliver it to you through our no contact curbside, soon to be lobby side checkout. So if you're interested in getting all of the supplies to make one of these, just be sure to call once you've seen the video. Just to let you know, in case you miss out on the craft kits, there is going to be an instruction sheet also in the bag, and it does list all of the supplies required. The first thing you're going to use for a gnome of the size I showed you is a 6-inch diameter circle of fabric. I do suggest using a cotton fabric similar to what you would use in a garment or for quilting. The example I made at home, I didn't have any quilting fabric scraps that were the appropriate size, so I used something a little heavier, and it did make the craft a little more difficult to do. In addition to the circle, the other important thing that a gnome has is a hat. You will use a 2-inch square of felt, and then you will cut it on the diagonal. So one 2-inch square will give you the ability to make 2 hats. The third thing you're going to need is a small organza bag. This is going to hold our product to use for stability and weight on the gnome. I'm using rice. You can also use a small bean like a lentil. You could even go totally organic and have a scented sachet at the same time by using dried lavender or dried rose petals or any other small crumbly substance that you like the smell of. I wouldn't use anything like cinnamon stick because it is too rough and too coarse, and it would eventually poke through your fabric in your bag. The other thing that a gnome has is a nose. In this case, we're using a 1/2-inch wooden ball. In the example I made, I did not have any balls at home. I did have some very tan fabric, so I cut a small circle. It was about 1 inch around, stuffed it with some cotton. The cotton I had came out of a new aspirin bottle, sewed around the edges and pulled it up to make it rounded and make a ball. If you do use the homemade nose rather than the wood, you are going to need to glue it down more firmly than you do the ball. And the last thing that makes a gnome is his beard. You want a nice fluffy furry beard. We do have these cut in each kit. They are all white. The fur that I used on this was from a damaged teddy bear that could no longer be repaired. So I disassembled the teddy bear because it did have nice long fluffy fur, and it made a fairly decent beard. So the process of making these is fairly simple. You're going to start with your organza bag, and you're going to put approximately 2 tablespoons of weighted material. As I said, I'm using rice. The organza bag, these are approximately 3 inches by 4 inches. It is a little larger than the rest, the pattern called for. But I could no longer locate anybody that was selling 2x3s except by mail order. I didn't need that quantity. So you just put it in the bag, tie it up, and if you like, you can knot it to be sure that it won't come open. You will take this and you will set it into the center of your circle. Squish it around a little bit so that it has more of a rounded shape. And you might even want to put the top of the bag to the bottom so that it gives you a easier time at the top. You will then begin gathering the circle all the way around. Pleat it as you need to. And gather it as tightly as you can. If you are having great difficulty or you don't have much fabric at the top, you might want to take some of the rice out of your bag. So it is a good idea to do a dry run on your rice before you knot the top of the bag if that's what you wanted to do. So I've kind of gathered it. I usually try to give it a little bit of a spin. The one thing that I didn't mention that is also supply needed is a small rubber band. We happen to have some of these here in the library, but you can frequently find them in mixed rubber band assortments. You're going to take the rubber band, and I'm sorry I'm doing this out of sight, but it makes it go a little bit easier. Okay, so it is easier to do it sitting on a surface. I got it started and I've just wrapped the rubber band around and pushed it down as far as it comfortably will go. It may possibly ride back up a little bit, but that's quite all right. Our next step is attaching our gnome's beard. I have cut the felt into a diamond shape, and as you might be able to see, there is a little bit of shedding, but it is still full and furry. You're going to take the diamond, place it on the front, fairly high up, and then you're going to take a second rubber band. I have given you 5 in each kit in case you have a little bit of breakage with any of them. There is really only 2 required. And added that rubber band to hold on the beard. I did catch some of the fur in the bands, so I could either cut that off, swing it around to the back, or try to tuck it under the rubber band, but that can be difficult. Once you have the beard on, you're done with the body of your gnome at the moment. you then need to move to your felt circle or your felt triangle. We are going to be turning this into a hat. I am using a glue gun for the speed of being able to have the glue dry. You can use Elmer's glue or another craft glue. It does take a bit longer to dry, and you want to make sure that the hat is the glue is fully dry before you pick it up to trim it. So you're going to take and hold the hat like this, and you're going to fold it down to the center, and you're going to fold the other side the same way. You want to try not to go past the point as you fold because that gives you a nice sharp top. You don't want a great deal of overlap, but you do need enough so that you can put a line of glue with the glue gun down along the first side that you turned in. Sorry, my glue gun had pulled up and I needed to push the glue down, but I didn't want to lose my hold on the felt. It's always a good idea to have a bowl of cold water nearby when you're working with a glue gun, especially a high temp glue gun. In case you get some glue on your fingers like I just did, you dip it immediately into the water. It chills and it stops the burn. So I've got a bit of glue. You then roll the second piece over and attach it over the glued piece. And then with the glue safely inside the two pieces, you can squeeze and hold it down until it does dry. I do need just a very little drip right up here at the top. I did not get enough glue toward the top of the hat. If you are using Elmer's glue or another craft glue, this process is a little less hazardous than the glue gun, but I would give it at least a good hour to dry. The felt does soak up quite a bit of the glue, and you may even need to apply a second coat. So once you have the hat, it does have this little tail in the back from where it was folded over. And mine is a little bit messy because I'm working quickly, but you can always try to clean it up. Once your hat has dried, you just want to snip off the tail and kind of round out the bottom. And it helps if the glue is totally dry, it doesn't stick to your scissors. Okay, all right. At this point, if you wanted to decorate the hat, you could glue a small piece of twine or a thread or two of burlap, a small braided cord, something very natural since the gnomes are a woodland type creature. They tend to go with natural materials. Okay, I have trimmed a little more and taken off a couple of points that I had on the side. And at this point, we're ready to attach the hat, just a dry run, attaching the hat on our gnome. The way to firmly attach it is to put a dab of the hot glue on the back. If you prefer to use something else, you can use the glue dots that you can get at craft stores or the Dollar Tree, and put one in the very back. And when you put the hat on, you would put it on and then press it very firmly to get it to hold tightly. I'm going to continue with my glue gun and just put a dab of the glue in the hat. Oh, no strings that time. It does help if you're using a glue gun. If you have kept your glue sticks in the freezer, that does reduce the stringing that you often get once the glue is melted. So I'm going to push it in and down as far as I can go in the back, squeeze it, and move it forward a bit. If you like, you can also put a dab of glue on either side of the corners of the beard. I would suggest using more of a craft glue or a glue stick because you don't want excess hot glue from the glue gun showing. The last thing we need is to give our gnome a nose. I usually look over the ball and try to find an area that is smoothly colored. There are a few colored stripes as this ball was milled. So I do see that on this side it's smooth and evenly colored. So that's what I want to show on the outside of the nose. So at this point I'm going to add hot glue to the nose. I'm going to lean the hat back, and I'm going to put the nose in and hold it until it dries, and then let the hat naturally fall back. So give me a moment while I get the glue going, and I will show you what it will look like as a finished product. I'm using a fairly large dab of glue and squeezing it so that the glue runs more up underneath the hat. And here's our finished gnome, ready to have his beard combed or muscled a little. If you'd like to use the rice, but you would still like to use this as a potpourri, if you have a favorite essential oil, just adding about 3 or 4 drops to the bag that already has the rice in it and rubbing it to distribute it will give you a good scent for many weeks or months. And this way, instead of using a particular flower, you can choose the scent you like. I'm particularly fond of eucalyptus, and one of these in my bedroom near my bed usually offers me a good sound night's sleep. So here we have our little woodland gnome, and all of the directions are inside the craft kit, and the instructions will be available online in case you are not fortunate enough to be able to get a craft kit. If you are going to be making several of these, I do suggest you make some templates to cut out your squares. It does make it go much faster. So I want to thank you again for attending another episode of Crafts at the Clinton Library. I'll be back soon with yet another craft. Goodbye.